Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Today is September 14th, and it is Sunday. It's been quite an interesting day in the news world, a pretty slow one, as weekends tend to be. But hey, hopefully, all you guys are doing well. If you're new here, please subscribe as we are on our way to 500 subscribers, and all the support would be greatly appreciated as we try to reach that goal before the end of the year. But with that being said, thank you all for watching and getting here, and let's get into the news from today. Moving on into the Trump administration segment, as we do, the first topic we have today is Marco Rubio has visited Israel. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has visited Israel on Sunday and stayed today or Saturday as well. Rubio said ahead of his trip that he would be seeking answers from Israeli officials about how they see a way forward in Gaza following the attack on Qatar last week. Netanyahu said in a statement during Rubio's visit, "I think his visit here is a testament to the durability, strength of the Israel-American alliance. It's strong and as durable as the stones of the Western Wall we just touched." For one, free Palestine, but this is really interesting. I think overall, the end of the Gaza conflict is going to be an interesting to watch, and see how it plays out. Because we don't really know what's going to happen or when it will end. As we know, Israel does not want a free Palestinian state, and Trump himself wants control of Gaza. Trump Gaza, if you all remember that. But it's really interesting because we don't really have a lot of information on everything as a whole, or any plans to end the conflicts. What I can say for sure is this is genocide, and it really needs to end as soon as possible. And Palestine needs to be freed in that outcome. Nobody should have to be forced to follow a religion that they don't agree with, for one, but nobody should have to, deal with all of the dying that has happened in Gaza. If Israel doesn't want to be a freedom of religion state, then they should allow Gaza to have their own. I mean, that's kind of common sense. As an American, I believe that all states should have the freedom of religion, and by state I mean country, because some people are going to think that I'm talking about states within the United States. No. Everyone in the world should have the opportunity to freedom of religion. That is one of my beliefs as an American. And if you're an American as well, I would hope you believe the same thing. In other news, talking about Charlie Kirk, because there's still stuff talking about that. The first topic we have is a Marine officer is being fired from recruiting for a Kirk-related post. The Marine Corps is investigating a recruiter who made comments about Charlie Kirk in an Instagram post. The post shows an image of Kirk with the caption, "Another racist man popped." Marine Corps officials said they are aware of the post it does not align with their core values. This isn't shocking. The Marines really run a tight ship. And although I'm sure politics is discussed within the Marines, I can see why it is a problem for recruiters. I do think it is a little bullshit. But, if I was, head of the Marines and I was, looking at our recruitments and our recruiters, I wouldn't want my recruiters to go around spewing their political ideology, because it makes it look bad when we try to recruit people from all sides of the aisle. But that's if that makes sense. I think that does make sense. I can see why this would be an issue, so I'm not surprised at all. But it is kind of bullshit. In other news, airlines are suspending workers for Charlie Kirk-related comments. Both Delta Airlines and American Airlines have announced that they have suspended workers for social media posts about the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Delta CEO Ed Bastian said in a statement, "We are aware that Delta employees whose social media content related to the recent murder of activist Charlie Kirk went well beyond the healthy, respectful debate. These social posts stand in stark contrast with our values and our social media policy, and these employees have been suspended pending investigation." This is a full-on attack of freedom of speech, just as we've seen throughout this entire administration. For one, this makes absolutely no sense. I don't think anyone cares what a pilot or stewardess' political views are, nor does it impact their job in any way. Like, if I'm getting on a plane, my goal is to sit in my seat, watch whatever I'm watching, or go to sleep, and hope that my pilot gets me there safely. Like, I do not care about the political views of my pilot. All I care about is them getting me to my destination and at a good time and safely. I understand why it might be a problem for teachers to share their political views. You don't want students or families to feel like they're forcing their views onto the students. But like, there's no reason for this to affect airline jobs. It is flat out just an attack on freedom of speech. It really is. Like, nobody gives a shit what their pilot or what their stewardess' political ideologies are. Nobody gives a shit. Yet we're reading about this and we're talking about, like, it is so stupid that is the case. Genuinely, that is so dumb. Nobody cares if their pilot is a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. Nobody gives a shit. Like, come on, dude. Really, come on. Anyways, moving on into our other news segments today, we have two interesting topics. The first one being Russian drones have now entered Romanian airspace. Romania has become the second country in NATO to report a Russian breach of its airspace after Poland last week. Romanian fighter jets monitoring the conflict on Saturday tracked down the Russian drone coming from Ukraine's southern border. Romania has summoned the Russian ambassador because of this. Under Romanian law, pilots can shoot down the drones, but they decided against it as they believed it didn't pose any potential risks. I'm going to be real. Two countries in less than a week is kind of crazy. I don't know if this shows Russia's inability to, control their own military or if it's actual threats against these countries. But, the fact that it happened twice is a little alarming. Hopefully it doesn't continue. That would be a massive problem and likely lead to a war. But, it is really odd that it's happened twice. And it's really odd that it's continuing to happen, because I feel like Putin isn't that dumb, and maybe I'm, misjudging Putin on that one, but I feel like he is not that dumb to start a war with NATO. Genuinely, like, there's no way, right? But we'll have to wait and see, I guess. In any news, moving on into our final topic for tonight, we have some really interesting news as two men have been arrested for placing a bomb under a media truck in Utah, or Salt Lake City to be more specific. Authorities in Utah have said two men have been arrested on suspicion of placing an incendiary device, however you say that, under a news media vehicle in Salt Lake City. Thankfully, the bomb did not go off. This happened on Friday when a suspicious device was found underneath the vehicle. Investigators have determined that the bomb had been lit but failed to function and design. Two men ages 58 and 31 were arrested and face charges related to weapons possession and terrorism threats. What the hell is going on in Utah, dude? Like, genuinely, no, thankfully nobody was injured or killed, but what the fuck is going on in that state? Like, I don't know what they got going on there, but something crazy is happening. This is not something I expected to hear. It happened on Friday, which was 2 days after the Charlie Kirk shooting. And then, it hasn't even been like a week whole as this information is coming out. I really do wonder what the motives behind this were. There's not really a reason to attack like a news vehicle. Just as there's not really a reason to attack press or anything like that. But like, it happened, which is really odd. I've been to Utah twice now. One was a layover flight, and the other one I drove through on my way to Denver. I'm going to be honest, weird vibes from the state. No offense to anyone from Utah, but the state has some weird vibes. It was really odd seeing anti-abortion ads when you drove through the state. But it's interesting. Utah is an interesting state, and we'll see how this plays out when more information comes out. With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. It has definitely been a very interesting day in the news world. Outside of that, though, hopefully all you guys are doing well. As mentioned, if you're new here, please subscribe. All the support would be greatly appreciated, as we are on our way to 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of this year, hopefully. If you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like food, like clothing, like all of that. But if not, you can have subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. It means the world to me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.